Hey, YouTube. We're back.
We're all back.
Hoy hoy, we're back.
Yeah.
Back from the dead, that is.
And as you can see, it's the first time in...
Special guest Mike is back for the first time, and it's got to be, what, 2 years?
More than 2 years. More than 2 years. That's right. And as you can see, it's Halloween, so we're out of the old graveyard here, and we are going to do our annual scary Halloween episode. So I'm pretty excited about this, guys, aren't you?
Yes, guys. We got some scary good books here. Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what are we starting with tonight? I guess.
I'm doing a segment, and then Jose's going to do a few, because I have not been picking up a lot, but I still love this stuff. Now, this is a modern book.
We should start with modern books. That's a cool modern cover.
September is the date on this, but I must have bought this in August, I would say. It's an Image comic of Creepshow #1, but I mean, that just brings me back to the golden age of comic books. It's so creepy.
What it kind of reminds me of is me and Jose used to play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons in the 80s, and that to me looks like a lich.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, or a night hag, or some kind of sweet, creepy undead kind of being. Yeah, like I said, a lich. That's a good one. Yeah.
Cool. Nice book.
It just caught me, and I said, no, I gotta have it. Gotta have it.
Great
So
cover.
A couple of moderns. The next one, of course. This just came out. I don't know when. Maybe a few months earlier than this. Draculina, the Sister of Vampirilla. I got number 1, 2, and 3 at least. And obviously it's going to be a very popular series because it's always going to be a collectible one.
And those bastards are dynamite. As per usual, they're going to have various variant covers for each issue. You're going to have like at least half a dozen to a dozen variants. I've picked up a few. That's how they get you. That's how you end up having 17 short boxes of modern material. But it's kind of cool. I love the gold background. It's kind of semi-foil like there. It's very cool, very nicely. I like it. Sexy girl cover, always sell.
Definitely a Halloween book. That is for sure.
Well, there's our dose of good girl cover goodness for the show.
Or bad girl.
Or bad girl in this case. Well, with this we got some 70s goodness.
Now
here.
you're talking my language.
During the pandemic, like curbside pickup. I mean, this was one that was on the wall. You got to look up. Always look up at my local haunt, and had it there for $50. And of course, since I have a pull list, he gave it to me for $40.
That's cool. That's cool. And in case you guys don't remember, Mike's local haunt is
Altered States.
Altered States, which is just on the lakeshore, up near Mississauga Road, a couple miles past. It's really great little comic book store, and we all shop there from time to time.
Yeah, because it's a great drive there. Scenic. It's right on the lake shore, right on the basically on the doorstep of Lake Ontario. It's got a lot of great boutiques and restaurants and places there. Mike lives in a very cool area where there's all this good stuff around, but this to me is my jam. 70s bronze marble.
Bronze Age 15.
We're going to be going in depth in my segments. We're going to be doing a deep dive on some Bronze Age horror.
Yeah.
So hold on, because the rest of the show we're going to be featuring Bronze Age horror goodness.
Quite a nice grade too, Mike. I see something going on.
Yeah, I'm thinking he had VF near mint on the price sticker.
It looks it, like I said, that's a tough black cover,
9.0. The only thing is, when I opened it up to look at it today, there is a little bit of off-whiteness around the pages, but perfectly square. It's really odd. But I gotta say, still probably would reach that mark. It would it would be a 9.0 off-white.
Pretty good, I'd say.
Even though everything in the center is white. It's amazing. Scripts by, there's 3 stories in here. Scripts by Mimi Gold. I haven't heard much of her. Do you know Mimi Gold? I don't know. Stan Lee, of course, and Len Wein. Come on.
Yeah, 2 of the 3. I mean, I've heard those 2 dudes, man. Len Wein.
Yeah.
co-creator of Swamp Thing with Bernie Wrightson, and of course, there's that dude Stan Lee, who's been around and done a few things, I think. So
I think so. So there's 3 different stories in there by those guys. Cover art, Bill Everett and Mari Severin.
wow, cool. It's a nice cover, man. It's like, and who doesn't like a circus kind of like fair, kind of like madhouse, kind of the guy freaking diving out the window there.
This is that Watch Me Die Twice. If you watch some of the Disney shows there with the Hulk, She-Hulk, the guy who jumps out of the window, he can die and still regenerate himself. That kind of like brought my attention to it. Like, this guy can kill himself, but he like can come back to life. All the time, and that's kind of trippy.
Very cool cover. Yeah.
But I bought this about I'm guessing almost 2 years ago.
Nice.
First time I got into the show. But anyways, these Bronze Age, when the code started to relax a little, is when I started getting into these things. I can't afford pre-cord horror. I can't afford some of those and stuff like that. But I'm a big fan of these things. And when I see a good looking cover or a great grade for a good price, I pick them up all the time.
Well, sharpen your pencils, take some notes, man, because I'm going to be featuring a ton of that stuff, Mike, so let's take a look.
Cool. Great start, Mike. Thanks, great books. Okay, next up we got some really nice books by Jose, and he's, starting with the Ghost Castle #1. Can't get any much better than that, Jose. Fantastic book.
Yeah, so the first segment, the appetizer segment, we're going to be featuring in each of these flights 2 books. And actually, the main thrust of my segments is going to be, I'm going to be featuring a good book cover and a great cover. And we're going to be talking about the distinctions and the things I look for when I'm judging a cover. So the parameters were that they had to be 2 books of roughly equal grade. Obviously, I'm not going to compare VG with a near mint book. They had to have equal significance if there was a key issue element to it. In other words, the element had to be more or less the same. And the price points for the books had to be more or less around kind of the same. I'm not going to compare a $10 fair market value book with a $100 book. So with those parameters in mind, let's start with the first segment, which is going to be featuring Tales of Ghost Castle issue #1 from June of 1975.
Can I just interrupt you for a second? I have these
you have this book. You
anyway.
picked up some of these DC books. Of course, this was a horror suspense anthology comic book series published by DC in 1975. Tales of Ghost Castle was hosted by Lucian, who later becomes an important supporting character of Neil Gaiman's 1989 series, The Sandman, which of course, as many may know, was adapted and recently released by Netflix earlier this year to generally very positive reviews. I watched the series, and if you're going to watch one comic book series, watch that one. Forget most of the garbage.
It was very well done.
Right now, so check that out.
Loved it.
So, an interesting fact is that much of the artwork in this series, of course, was done by Filipino artists, many of whom had been recruited by Joe Orlando and Carmine Infantino in their 1971 recruiting trip to the Philippines. Now, artists on this series included Sergio Aragones, Bill Drought, and of course the Filipino artist Ernie Chan, who did this cover here, E.R. Cruz, Buddy Gamale, Alex Nino, Frank Quico Redondo, Nestor Redondo, and Ruben Yandock. Now, Tales of Ghost Castle, of course, was one of several horror mystery suspense anthology titles published by DC during this era. Debuting in May-June 1975, the title, of course, lasted only 3 issues before being canceled. Now, in Tales of Ghost Castle, Lucian the Barbarian is portrayed as the guardian of a castle in Transylvania, abandoned by both sides during World War II, watching over its forgotten library. Now, with his companion, a werewolf named Rover. Now, this is a very affecting cover, again by Ernie Chan. And what I always liked about DC in this time, they had a cover which basically told the story here, which you could use your imagination to fill out the details. So you got this English-looking dude there in the basement, looking after his mushrooms there, and he's growing this really big toadstool there with skeleton arms kind of jumping out of it. And maybe you think, okay, he's an amateur botanist or somebody who's messed around maybe with some soil from the graveyard to increase the size of that mushroom so he can win the prize at the fair or whatever, and it's now come back to haunt them. So again, it tells a story. If I had one argument against it, it's got a little bit too much trade dress. I mean, I wish that little thing on the bottom left corner there was not there. So, but generally overall, a good cover, not a great cover. Okay, so I picked this up from Pendragon, as I did a lot of these books here. This is a solid coffee, at least fine, very fine to very fine minus, so 7.75, paid $25 Canadian, which is about $15 US at this current exchange rates, which as of this filming are about $1.39, $1.40. The latest 50-second overstreak price guide shows $9, $18, $28, and $38 US as the 6, 8, 99-point grade splits for this book.
What do you got underneath there, Jose?
Okay, so that was the good cover. In my opinion, of course, this is the great cover. Supernatural Thrillers issue number 1 from December 1972. Cover artist, none other than Jim Steranko.
Nice.
Now, this Bronze Age Marvel title adapted classic horror stories, including works by Robert Louis Stevenson, Theodore Sturgeon, and H.G. Wells, no less. The title ran for 15 issues, cover dated from December 72 to October 75, and was one of 4 titles launched by Marvel Comics editor-in-chief Roy Thomas at the time to form a line of sci-fi and horror anthologies. Now, this first issue of the series featured Theodore Sturgeon's 1940 short story, It, adapted by writer-editor Thomas and penciler Marie Severin, with just amazing, amazing cover art by Jim Steranko. Now, of course, for me, this is from my favorite era, when Marvel's house style for covers just dominated with the picture frame layout. This fantastic cover by personal fave Steranko references The Heap, who, believe it or not, was comics' first swamp monster, the original of which appeared first in Hillman's periodicals Air Fighter Comics issue number 3, cover dated from December of 1942, in the story Wanted by the Nazis.
Nice.
Yeah, that character was created by Harry Stein and artist Mort Leave in collaboration with Hillman editor Ed Cronin. Now, just a short comics history lesson to inform you fanboys grappling with the conundrum which came first, Swamp Thing or Man-Thing. Both, of course, were developed simultaneously, but are in fact derivative of the Comic-Con's original muck monster, The Heap.
The Heap.
Yeah, so again, from Pendragon, paid $20 Canadian for a solid mid-grade 6.65 copy, which is current exchange rates is $14 US, almost no money. Latest 50-second overstreet price guide shows $15, $31, $53, and $75 US as the 6, 8, 9, and 9.2 grade splits. What can I say? That Ernie Chan was a good cover. This Steranko is a great cover. It's from my favorite time frame where they integrated perfectly the trade dress with just a mount so it did not interfere with the actual picture. Even the cameo with the howling wolf there in the top left corner underneath the price and issue number. Everything works. Everything. The type. Fantastic. I cannot criticize this cover. Good. Great cover.
All I gotta say is I'm a Steranko nut, and now I have to seek this book out for myself because I want everything Steranko.
So consensus, which good, which great, Paul?
I'm gonna say again, my eyesight ain't the best anymore, but I'm thinking between a 7 and an 8, maybe 8.5. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, no, I mean, I said it was a high mid-grade 6.65 at least, maybe a 7, but I'm saying this book a good grade.
I haven't gotten close enough to it though to make a judgment, but I like it. Works for me. Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, that's the first segment down, so let's get to another set of books.
Fantastic books, Jose. Thanks for bringing them in. Okay, so hope you like that footage. That was some of the footage I shot at this year's Hamilton Comic Con. I love the Hamilton Comic Con. It's every October, so the first month of October they had it here in Hamilton at the Vintage Airplane Museum. So we were there.
Oh, cool!
Yeah.
I've seen some footage of that on YouTube from other channels as well.
Yeah, and it's Hamilton Comic Con, but it's more just a
HammerCon.
HammerCon. It's more of a pop culture convention. And we had a really great time, and I thought I'd just show you some of the footage because actually, if you remember, my very first Halloween episode was I showed footage of the Hamilton Comic Con as well. It was the only second year in existence, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and it's a lot of fun. And a couple other things I wanted to mention because again, we haven't really done an episode in a year. It's been It's been 2 years since Mike's been with us.
2 years.
So this is like the first like real episode where the three of us have been together a long time.
Band is back.
Yeah.
Boys are back in town.
But a lot of things have happened in the last 2
yeah.
years since COVID-19. One sad thing I'd like to mention. Well, sad for me is my friend Phil that ran
Planet Hobby.
Phil Theodore, who ran Planet Hobby. I mean, he's been an institution since the 1980s, and sadly, he retired this year. So it's a store we've all frequented since like at least like the mid 80s. And it's kind of an end of an era. I mean, he always had some great books. Him and his brother. At one point, they had like 3 comic book stores and a warehouse in Toronto supplying other comic book stores. So it's kind of sad to see him shut down. But we wish the best for Phil because he is retiring now. The first one of us to actually hang it up and retire.
55.
We should all be so lucky to be able to
He's
retire.
the only one I know that's actually done it.
Freedom freaking
Fake
55. Like,
the rest,
literally.
The rest of us chumps are still working. But the point is, he has had a great start, and we really enjoyed working, hanging out with him and shopping at his store in years. It's too bad. It's the end of an era. It's too bad.
Hey, rest in peace, Planet Hobby, aka Grey Legion.
Grey Legion
is what I remember from Square One and all.
Yeah, Grey Legion. I think he got some copyright issues, but eventually he started in Square One. He moved down to Burnham Thorpe down near Mavis, and just a really great guy and a really great store. And I got some really in fact, a lot of the books I've shown you guys over the years are from his store.
Absolutely, yeah. I've got tons too.
Okay, so back to what we were doing here. Again, we've got some more scary, really nice, scary books from Jose, and we got here like an Adventure Comics, right?
Oh yes. So believe it or not, this second segment, if we had the appetizers as the entree, this is the only segment that will not feature key books. I am a key issue collector, but like I said, I am not going to look my nose down at some common run books that just have really, really good or great covers. So, without further ado, we have Adventure Comics number 427 from May 1973. Now, another just excellent and atmospheric Swamp Monster cover from DC's 1970s Filipino contingent. In this case, the cover artist is Luis Dominguez. Now, this issue of Adventure Comics is from a very, very short-lived and overlooked era of Adventure Comics. The title lead had been for many years, of course, Superboy, and then Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes. Then starting with issue 381, you had Supergirl taking over the lead until issue 424. Starting with issue 425, the powers that be at DC switched back to the original format, back to adventure stories. The adventure format lasted exactly 3 issues, before featuring a 3-issue Black Orchid storyline, after that featuring stories in which the Spectre famously takes over the title from issues 431 to 440, before the title ending with Aquaman as the lead. Now, counterintuitively, that's what the all-new and all-new adventure refers to. They're going back to the 1940s golden age adventure feel and story of the things, including the title, which I love. Now, I guess you could call this why I like this title so much and cover so much, is it has kind of DC's take on the picture frame format, which is really cool. Dividing the title dress to the top without it impacting the power and image of the actual cover itself, and which of course features a very angry mama monster who's basically sneaking up on this filmographer or photographer there, who's basically too engrossed to check out for his own safety, watching these kind of 2 baby lizard monsters playing around in the swamp.
Yeah.
Love how the foreground, background, and middle ground is differentiated in this cover. I love the line work indicating like the foggy kind of like, you know, atmosphere in the background there of the swamp. And I love how the little crest on top of the head of the monster kind of break the picture clean into the title dress so that it looks like the monster's coming forward. All in all, a very, very affecting, powerful, and good cover, which is in very good condition. Again, I think it's a high mid-grade issue, you know, 6.5, 7.0, something like that.
Somewhere around.
The latest 50-second Overstreet price guide shows just 6.10, 14, and 18 US as the 6, 8, 9, and 9.2 grade splits. Of course, pay $20 Canadian, which is only about $14 US with currency exchange rates at these rates. No money. A $5 and a $10 will get you a book like this with this cover in really good condition. Okay. Now, guys, what do you think? Good cover?
Oh yeah, I love it. I love it.
What do I think? You know, I collect adventure comics.
Yeah.
You know, I love that Spectre run.
Yeah.
I'm saying I'm leaving with this book tonight.
Yeah, it's a
I'm
good
buying
book.
this off you tonight.
But you might want to change your mind because
I'm buying this book tonight. That's it. I have the cash.
Oh,
I'm
that's
buying
beautiful.
This tonight.
we have BAM! We have a good cover. We have a great cover. This. My favorite cover of all the books we're going to be featuring tonight is this cover right here, gentlemen. Chamber of Chills, issue number 8 from January 1974. Cover artist Marie Severin.
Man.
Yeah, so of course this title was launched by Marshall Comics editor-in-chief Roy Thomas, in part to form a line of sci-fi and horror anthologies. This bi-monthly series ran exclusively new material through issue number 4, and then with this issue number 8, the series became all reprint. I don't care, because there could be blank pages in it with a cover this strong is on the
You're gonna buy it, yeah.
I'm gonna buy it. Now, most of the reprinted stories, of course, were from 1950s pre-coit horror stories, probably Atlas, which the industry self-censorship organization, the Comics Code Authority, had forbidden on code-approved comics until the loosening of the code in 1971. Now, when you're looking at cover art and you look at this cover, you just go, wow, what a great point of view cover. You are there. You are the extra guard with your buddy beside you as you watch this yellow-eyed, kind of ghostly kind of skeleton in its prisoner's uniform. It's still manacled coming at you, making me think of a revenant, a spirit that comes back to somebody who's been unjustly or unfairly treated to wreak vengeance on his, basically oppressors. In this case, obviously, he probably died in his cell. He's come out, he's already knocked off one guard, and he's about to knock off you and your buddy. And what a just fantastic cover. I could talk for minutes on it, but like I said, you guys know what I'm saying. Now, this book was $35 because why? It's 9.2 grade, I think. It is very high grade for this. Getting 9.2 grades of books in the 70s is getting harder and harder. The latest 50-second Overstreet price guide shows $9, $16, $23, and $30 US as the 6, 8, 9, and 9-point grade splits. Of course, I paid $35 Canadian, which, with the current exchange rates, is about $21 US. A nice, tight, high-grade copy with lots of gloss and reflectivity still. at least a 992.
Oh, beauty.
Cannot say
beauty.
how happy I am to have this book.
Beauty.
And I know I've mentioned this before. The nice thing about collecting horror, and we all like to do
All
it,
do. Yeah.
is it doesn't
Doesn't have to cost you
Doesn't
an arm and a
cost
leg.
Bank.
No,
Doesn't break the bank.
And again, mostly you're not going to find any keys. So you're collecting basically on cover appeal, and you can get some really spectacular books for bargain basement prices.
Well, like I said, I mean, this book, which is a common run book showing only reprint stories, still has the best cover of all the books I'm showing tonight. Cannot be say how happy I am to have it.
And watch the trends because, you know, things come around. So.
That is a fantastic book, Jose. Thanks for bringing it in.
Hoi hoi.
Yeah.
Okay, for the next set of books, Dead of Night featuring Scarecrow. Jose, that's a really, really nice copy you got there.
Yeah, of course, another of those 70s anthologies. Of course, this is Dead of Night, issue number 11 from August of 1975. Of course, featuring cover artist Gil Kane. Interesting side fact, Bernie Wrightson actually was the inker on this cover. And of course, here we feature Enter the Scarecrow, in which a scarecrow with supernatural powers apparently emerges from a painting to battle an evil cult. Interesting factoid, the character was renamed Strawman, of course, as a result of the existence of the established DC character, the Scarecrow, who first appeared in World's Finest Comics issue number 3 in August of 1941. Now, he appeared only one more time in the Golden Age in Detective Comics 73, and basically in March of 1943, and disappeared until returning in Batman 189 in February of 1967. So everybody knows that Scarecrow. So Marvel comes out with a character called the Scarecrow. I don't think that they were going to, obviously, that was not going to last. They, of course, eventually renamed the character to Strawman. How imaginative.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a very high-grade copy, and it's a very solid, very good cover. I mean, I particularly like Gil Kane's pencil work on the actual Scarecrow. I love that it's not a static pose, it's an action kind of cover. It reminds me a little bit of Darth Vader when he's basically stroking the rebel officer in Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I know, yeah.
I mean, so like I said, that aspect of it, I cannot fault. I love the little basically cameo just underneath the price, basically index and issue number there. I always love those little cameos. So overall, generally good cover. Where it falls a little flat for me is kind of the lack of detail, the lack of nuance, and particularly, for example, the flames. I mean, they look like yellow spiky hedges or bushes. What I'm trying to say, there's no fire in those flames.
Like
Maybe he
a
ran
paint job on a car or something.
He ran out of ink.
Yeah, you know, like I said, I mean, the two main protagonists, fantastic. The background, I mean, yeah, at least something lagging. And also a little bit too much trade rights. I hate the little all-new #1 right over like a postage stamp of the moon. It really takes away from the cover. It impedes too much. I mean, it's coming in there. And I think a black cover would have been a lot more effective. It would have made the moon pop out even more.
Yeah.
But that's, again, my criticism against it. A good cover, but not a great cover.
Yeah.
When we want a great cover, we're going to take a look at this book here.
Oh, I think we're going to look at this one right here.
Of course.
Fantastic.
Supernatural Thrillers, issue number 5 from August 1973. Cover artist Rich Buckler. Now, this Marvel title, of course, was a vehicle for tales of supernatural action before starring an original character, the Living Mummy.
Nice.
This issue introduces the Living Mummy in a standalone story about an African tribal prince enslaved by Egyptians and mummified by an evil priest who eventually reawakens in modern times. Now, the character was created by writer Steve Gerber and penciler Rich Buckler. The character returned 2 issues later in issue number 7 and ran to the final issue of the title, issue number 15, from June 74 to October 1975. Well, you know, what can I say? This is a great cover. I mean, it features the Living Mummy front and center there. But what I really like about it is, you notice there's a lot of trade dress, including what I would argue a lot more trade dress than the previous issue that we just featured. It's just that it's integrated more coherently. I mean, basically you have some of the text is kind of almost like writing on the pillar he's knocking down.
Yeah.
And the other two placements of it are such that it doesn't interfere as much in the main image, is what I'm basically saying.
Yeah.
You can have a busy cover trade title wise, is just as long as you're sympathetic to not kind of obscuring, but you're trying to solve, which is the image of the book. And this is what I'm getting to in this sense. I mean, so this is a great cover in my opinion. One of the YouTube guys I follow, Bronze and Modern Gods, one of the guys that recently got a like 9/6 copy of this, and I was so envious. Now this is a solid copy. I picked this up at a Toronto Comic Book Show a couple of years ago. In fact, I think the last one was that before COVID hit in February of 2020. Now the latest 50-second Overstreet price guide shows 24, 56, 108, and 160 US as the 6/8 99.2 grade splits. I paid $100 Canadian even for it. At the time, it was a 30% exchange rate. It was about $70 US. It's a good book, and like I said, it's a good pickup.
Yes, it certainly is.
Very nice.
Fantastic books, Jose. Fantastic. I'm jealous. I'm very envious. Thanks for bringing them in.
Hoi hoi.
Man, I love Halloween. Hope you like that footage. That was some of the footage from the Toronto Comic Book Show. And that's another thing that we've never done before. We had, for the first time, me, Mike, and Jose were actually dealers at the Toronto Comic Book Show. And I gotta tell you, it was a pretty good experience overall. What do you guys think?
Super fun. Super fun. It's great meeting everyone. Odd being on the other side of the fence, but...
It is weird being on the other side for one thing.
Of the fence,
We've crossed to the dark side. Yes.
What did you think, Jose?
I had a very enjoyable time. Oh, of course, it helped that we had on one side veteran dealer Andy from Forest City Comics and Coins and Collectibles, and he was a very knowledgeable person. We were a very engaging fellow, and we had a good time. Young couple dealer on the other side there, and we had a very good spot, and we did some bank, and I was very happy with both our experience as dealers and obviously as a collector. Of course, there was zero probability that I would not go there and buy some books, but I tempered my buying. I got some good stuff, but I still sold an impressive amount of books for what I thought.
You certainly did, yeah.
Yes. But
I myself sold about almost $1,000 worth of books, which was great because I wasn't. I honestly did not expect our first time out being as successful as we were, and I think we did pretty well.
We could basically say it surpassed our expectations as far as our expectations going on as far as being able to actually make a few bucks. Yeah, that was very good.
The only thing I found, and I know we had this discussion earlier, the only negative thing I found is that because the comic book community is a pretty small group in Toronto and Etobicoke, and they kind of knew we were new. So right in the morning, all the dealers are coming over and they're rifling through our collection, and I felt that there's a couple times where the dealers were kind of trying to lowball me and trying to rip me off.
They're there to check to see if you inappropriately price something. In other words, you price it too low so that they can make a kind of a low-ballish offer and actually just basically flip it right at the con rub from under you for like a better price. So you have to be aware of that.
Yeah, I'm pretty good. I tried not to get taken advantage of, and I don't think I was, except for one book, but I'm not going to talk about that today. Okay, so let's continue on here, Jose. You've got a really nice Tomb of Dracula, so let's hear about it.
Okay, well, actually, two Tomb of Draculas. These last two segments, the first two we featured a DC and a Marvel book. These last two segments also feature only Marvel books, and also they only feature keys, since I am a key collector.
Yeah.
But before we actually dig into these two Tomb of Draculations, a little word on FOMO. The sad thing is that Dracula is one of the big three when you think of the trinity for monsters. I mean, you have Dracula, Frankenstein monster, and the Mummy, as far as I'm concerned. Most people would agree that as far as popular culture. But of the three, I think the backstory of Dracula is the most interesting. Of course, you have have the 1897 publication of Bram Stoker's Dracula, the book. And of course, in actual history, you had the medieval history of Vlad Tepes, who was fighting off the Ottoman Turks there. And it was a vicious kind of time, and for a vicious kind of person, basically, that's how he got the nom de guerre, or the nickname of Vlad the Impaler, because he would take captured Turkish prisoners and impale them on big stakes. Well, he just left them there to die. But I'm more of a kind of value investor. The sad thing is, when you think of Tomb of Dracula, most people think issue 10, first appearance of Blade. To think that an IP like Dracula would be overshadowed, and from the collector's standpoint anyway, by a character kind of like appearing on the title, that the by far the most valuable book in the entire run is issue 10, because first appearance of Blade. Kind of in the same way. Kind of in the same way that Werewolf by Night title is overshadowed, issue 32 being the first appearance of Moon Knight, and that's by far the most valuable book on the Werewolf title.
For sure.
But being a Warren Buffett kind of value investor, I think, I look at the prices of issues 10, when even low-grade slab copies in the 3.354 range are going the mid-hundreds. What are your options, really? I'm going to go for secondary keys. And in my position, I like second appearances and origin issues. So, look, if you don't want to pay the prices for, 10, think of issues 12 or 13. 12 is the second appearance. Unfortunately, the downside of that one, Blade doesn't appear on the cover, and it's not that great of a cover. But 13, he does appear on the cover, and it is his origin issue. So those are two books you should seriously look at. Of course, thinking of Tomb of Dracula, I mean, the number one issue is still the one to get, really, first appearance of Dracula. But here we're not to talk about those, but I thought I'd mention those things because these are good value investment books thinking of moving forward. Now, there have been various problems reported on the Blade movie. Mahershala Ali, the two-time Academy-winning Oscar, was very unimpressed with a 150-page script that only had, in his opinions, 2 mediocre action sequences, and it is being released as a PG-13 kind of movie, which I think Blade could never be. I recently rewatched the Blade movie starring Wesley Snipes, and they are solid, great movies. And I mean, unless you're going to go along down those lines, I think the franchise is in kind of trouble before we even get to step number one. But enough of those. So here are the two books. Again, we're looking at good covers and great covers. So we'll start off with Tomb of Dracula, issue number 45 from June of 1976. Cover artist Gene Colan. And when you think of Dracula, you think of Gene Colan. He is best remembered as the main penciler for the Tomb of Dracula title. As far as most people are concerned, nobody drew, Dracula better than Gene Colan.
That's right.
Having said that, I mean, I think this is a good cover, but something about it is off. It doesn't kind of all come together. I understand what they're trying to do with the visage of Dracula in the background, superseding everything. But, having them, basically their Blade fighting Hannibal King, who eventually will become an ally, and kind of avoid with this pimpish looking attired dude just kind of floating into space there too. It just somehow doesn't hang all together, if you understand what I'm saying. Again, I'm not trying to pick it too much. I love Gene Colan and I love his artwork, but in this cover, he just doesn't quite get it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my main take on it. The latest 52nd Overstreet price guide indicates for this book that the 6, 8, 9, and 9.2 grade splits are only $12, $27, $44, and $60 US. So again, quite affordable. I picked this up at a Fan Expo. I picked it up for basically $75, which is a little over $50 US. And both these copies are high grades, and in the sense that I think they're all grade out between 8.5 and a 9.2. Okay, so the second copy, the great cover, of course, is issue number 25. Tomb of Dracula 25 from October 1974. Of course, from October. Cover artist here we have is Gil Kane. Now, this, of course, happens to be the first appearance and origin of Hannibal King, detective and ally of Blade. Now, this is a great point of view cover. In a way, it reminds me very much of the perspective we're getting in Chamber of Chills number 8. Remember with the kind of mummy there?
I do.
Your point of view is you are one of Dracula's army of the undead rushing this poor, unsuspecting couple who's about to get the chop.
Yeah.
So it is a great viewpoint thing. Dracula in the center guiding his, army of the undead. Great Gil Kane cover. And believe it or not, I was somewhat surprised. Again, a higher grade copy, 8.5, 9.92. The latest 50-second overshoot price crash indicate 42.96, 211, and $325 US as the 6, 8, 99.2 grade splits for this issue. Really good cover. I mean, what can I say? Again, if it grades out at between an 8.5 and a 9, which I think it will, I mean, we're talking a couple $100, $300 for this book. I picked it up again for $75 Canadian, around $51, $52 US, keeping in mind current exchange rate's almost $1.40. Two great Tomb of Dracula titles you should be aware of if you're looking for other things other than Blade.
Wow, nice. if you can unload it at the Toronto Comic Book Show or double or triple what you bought it for, unless, of course, you love it so much you don't want to get rid of it, it may be something you want to liquidate at the next show.
Yeah, I would consider the good covers, not the great covers. No. This is one of the great covers.
This is one of the great covers, yeah. Wow, that is fantastic. Those are some great books.
He's already sold one of the good covers, anyway.
Yeah.
Yes, I did, actually. That's surprising.
You were not leaving without it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's going to be one of those things we're going to have to look at. Again, at our ages now, we're all getting into our mid-50s. As much as we love collecting, and we will continue to collect, at some point we're going to have to think about starting to unload. So I think we're going to be doing these shows going forward.
Yes, a regular basis. That's the great thing about this TCBS. They come around every 2 to 3 months, and let us restock a bit, get some new stuff, and then, sell some more stuff again.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I got many
so,
boxes.
Yeah, I mean, I love all my books, but I'm not going to. I personally don't want to sell if I can't get a good price for it. So I will continue to collect in this manner. If I can get the books cheap, I'm going to buy them cheap. I'll put them up for sale at a price that is fair. When I say fair, what I personally do is I go to eBay, I look at the last sale in the grade that I have, and I knock a few dollars off of it, right? And
so of the customers.
Yeah.
Customers are looking at eBay a lot. I've noticed that.
There's many ways you can look at it. Take the guide. I usually do take the guide. It's a rough guide. And then also things like Key Collector will give you in low, mid-grade, and high-grade, the kind of things that you should be looking at raw books for.
And again, a younger generation is more and more in tune to the Key Collector app.
Oh, yeah.
More than we are.
Yeah.
But so
the point being is that although we're starting to sell, and we're going to start being a dealer at a lot of these shows, we haven't stopped collecting. We're still collectors.
Oh, I will never stop collecting. I bought books at the show.
But we're going to be we're also going to be sellers as well.
Still have a pull list.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So that was fantastic. At least I thought it was fantastic. Hopefully, you guys thought so too. I'm sorry we're only doing right now one show a year, and we do intend to pick up the pace at some point, but to be honest, right now I'm working a lot, so's Jose. Mike's working very strange hours, but we do, and I know I've said this before, want to get back to the point where we are at least making at least one episode a month. That's my goal. And again, if you like the episode, leave a comment, and we will hopefully see you very soon.